It is day 13 of my Plein April challenge, and I am hanging out along the Metolius River near Camp Sherman in Oregon. So this is between the Cascade Mountain Range and Sisters. I'll be here for about an hour today to do my little gouache painting in my sketchbook. So let's see what I create, shall we? I did my setup a little different today. I have a rubber band here so that it's not here in the crease. So we'll see how that goes. I got my two waters. One water for like dirty brush and one water to try and keep my water clean. And I am just going to mix up some colors. My palette mud, leftover, as in leftover paint from previous sessions. I'm just going to mix them up a little bit, add some brown to my yellow to do like the fallen pine needles on the ground. I'm gonna block in some color. So this is the Metolius River, and I remember as a child coming along here and camping with my parents, going hiking. Just some good memories. And I was driving through to go to a Watercolor Society of Oregon convention in Bend. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to stop along here and do my plein air for the day. And I'm just happy I'm here. It's actually not that bad for weather right now, even though the weather is unusually snowy, like coming over the pass from Salem. Everything, the roads were clear, but like along the roads there's a bunch of snow piled up, so that's just not exactly normal. And make this green more like the green I see right now on the trees. There we go. So this is just like my under layer. So some of it might show through in the final painting. Some of it may not. Kind of watering it down like watercolors. I really like this dry brush technique on the sides. I'm not going to have a super nice edge on this one. Just kind of let it be organic, I'm thinking today. Unlike my little dandelions, it's very structured edges. I want something a little more organic. And then the river. couple different blues. And Payne's gray. And today I'm using my traveling brushes. I have my really big brush right now out. Big round brush, size 12. Because this is gouache, I can really put the color anywhere because I can layer over it with lighter colors in gouache. Because gouache is opaque, unlike watercolor. Watercolor is transparent, so you cannot layer light colors on top of the dark. This is what I have so far. And now I'm going to start working the background forward. So back here, there's some ponderosa pines. Their bark is really on the red side, which I love. It's very distinct, and their pine needles, it is a pine tree, not a fir tree. Their pine needles are very long. And so a lot of the browns around here on the ground are the dead pine needles you see from them. So I'm making some bark color. I feel pretty good about this color right here for the bark. But I'm also like looking around and like the behind them. I want to paint behind them first. It's very like a gray color, so I might get a little there, the white. There we go. And I'm just gonna block that in. And it's okay if I let my underpainting of really warm color show through, because this is just going to be a quick little painting. Try to have a light touch of my paintbrush so you don't see the paint strokes as much. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry, and when I come back in, I'll work on creating the lines for the trees. If I were to paint the lines for the trees now, I feel like it would be very soft edges, kind of blurred out because it's pretty wet. So I am going to work over here. We got some green from pines back here. Okay, those are blocked in. I'm gonna block in some more green from the pines over here a little bit. Let's mix some more of the green real quick. If I mix more of the green and not add as much water, it'll be more opaque. So if my paint has had time to soak in the water that I spritzed on it when I first arrived, because the more water you add, the more transparent the paint will be, just like watercolor. But I want it more opaque, as in it covers the colors underneath it more. And it's darker then too. go. Okay, and then I'm going to work on, still a little damp, but I can touch it and not leave a fingerprint. So I'm going to do the trunks of the trees real quick here, the pines. Because I'll overlay some brush along the bottom of the trunks. And I'm going to grab some of my ivory black and do some of the kind of like shadows, at least the darker side of the trunks. Okay. They all look a little the same, but I'll let them dry now, and then I'll add some more like highlights with one of my thinner brushes. Let's get some foliage in there still. It's kind of picking up the paint. There we go. And then the shrubbery around there is like, a little bit of the trunk of white. So there we go. Shrubbery. A little bit more. There we go. And sometimes the color can kind of shift depending on what color it's layered over. And if that color is dry or damp. I don't want to spend a lot of time on the background because, you know, it is the background. Okay, calling that good. Let's work on the brush along the sides of the river, because along the side of the river it's still quite cold, so there's no, you know, fresh foliage. Let's add some ivory black to that, the zinc white to lighten it up. Oh, I see some joggers in the distance. Yeah, some more white to really show the different layers. Titanium white over here is more like an opaque white, so it can cover a little bit better. It's also white, of course. Hence being able to cover better. It's more opaque. I want to make sure this dries pretty well because I'm going to do some dry brushing over it to get the ripple effects of the river. I think, let's see, what do I want to do next? Let's make a little bit more red for layering over here and here. How to change your brush one-handed. Boop. Do. Boop. Okay. My little baby brush is ready. Let's get some details in. Don't like the color, so I reworked it a bit. I'm not going to do it to every trunk because I want to show a little bit of depth. Gosh. It's not easy for me to paint complicated scenes because I want to do all the detail. So it's hard for me. So doing this challenge is helping me not only to learn gouache, but to kind of simplify shapes and colors. If I can't simplify it, it just takes forever. And I really like doing details. That is one of my weaknesses. All the detail painting that I can do. So like doing this, there's like big naked tree down at the end over there. So I'm trying to keep my brush not too wet so I can have this scraggly dry brush effect to mimic the shrubbery. It's like a really bad hair day for this poor little paintbrush to do this dry brush effect. But it's looking pretty awesome, dry brush effect. Skitter scatter, little brush strokes, some scumbling, doing kind of imperfect. Get the essence of the subject matter, which is scritchy scratchy shrubbery. And gouache will tend to dry a little bit different than what you see it wet. Oops. So that is, the brush got too wet, so I need to give him a bad hair day again. There we go. Bad hair days. There we go. Bad hair days can be a good thing for painting. Okay, I'm happy with back here. Well, actually, not quite happy yet. I'm gonna get some of this going. So I kind of fanned out my brush a little bit. Gave it a bad hair day to mimic some of the grass on the very far bank. There we go. Happier with that. Moving on. Let's see, what time is it now? 4:48. I want to get going soon. So I'm going to work on... There's this tree that's kind of leaning towards the river. I'm going to work on that guy. And once again, it is a ponderosa pine. Tell by the beautiful red bark. Too red. There we go. And then the shrubbery around it, I'll let this dry. I'll work over here real quick. I'm gonna leave this kind of like, I'd say almost kind of unfinished. Let's add, going to make some shrubbery color. So there's another set of, not sure what this is. It is a, well, I can't really tell what it is, especially with no foliage on it. It's not birch. I don't think it's aspen, but it's something that is definitely growing. It is not fir or pine in any nature. So if you know what this is, leave a comment below. What this is, because I did not know. Block in some rocks. More rocks over here. Bigger rock here. It's kind of holding a log in place almost. I almost forgot to do all these rocks. And it's a little bit darker right underneath the bank. It's kind of like it's undercut a little bit. And then wider on top. Scratchy scratchies. Foliage back here. Have a thirsty brush, as in not much water in it, and give you this dry brush effect. You know, it probably work better if I went to a bigger brush, but I want a little bit more control of the area. Let me get that log in. Log sitting on the bank. Pointing towards the channel of the middle of the river, so that can help with the composition as well. I'm not worried about painting over my rocks right now. I'll do the tops of them again. We've got some branches sticking up. I want to do some more scratchy scratchies. Scratchy scratch, scratchy scratch. Bad hair days make for good paintings or paintbrushes. This dried a whole bunch lighter than what I intended the color to be, so I'm going over it again with some more titanium white in the mix, because it's very like sun bleached on the top of the log. And over here, this tree, it has light hitting it. I'll work that in a little bit. Trying to switch up my brush. Let's do the medium size brush. Okay. Alright, I want to do some white, blue a little bit, so I can dry out a little bit, so I can do that as my dry brushing. So I'm really making my brush have crazy hair. And I'm holding my paper at an angle, and I'm just going to do light brushing strokes. More white. think I'm going to do some dry brush of dark color too. Because why not? Let's mix up some dark blue. Try and see where the really dark areas of the river are. Cover up some rocks, but that's okay. Doing good on time. I have a set amount of time to work today because I'm going to a friend's place for dinner tonight, and I don't want to be called late for dinner. But I also want to paint. So we got the rapids, the whitewater on here. Fun fact, I have done whitewater rafting along with like whitewater kayaking. If you look, as you go down the river, you'll see like a V, and that is where you want to be within that V. Because that is the main channel and usually where it is best to have your boat going. Do a little bit more for my log in the water. Oops, there we go. You can really use a bigger brush. So this is my medium brush, it's a size 8. And if you have a light touch, you can really use it to do some detail and fine work depending on the pressure you have on your paintbrush. I wanted to pick up some of that light colored gouache. It was a little too intense for my liking. There we go. And then I want to do like some just pure white. Where it's really, the ripples are going. There's a branch of this bushy thing in the water here, so I wanted to depict that. I figured just doing the white gouache, it'll lighten up a little bit as it dries. I'm gonna make a little dark area where it's hitting the water, kind of like shadow in a way. Just like where the log on the left is in the water. Just really grounding my subjects. There we go. Okay, I'm going to work on the grass along here a little bit. This is my white, my titanium white. Up here, a little bit of my titanium yellow ochre, a little bit of burnt sienna. Get my paintbrush all crazy, and let's play around with some of the grass texture. And it will dry a little bit lighter and kind of disappear. Get more of my white in there. Bad hair day makes for good grass. With my paintbrush. And then over here, let's do a little more burnt sienna. Dry brushing some of that color in there. Should have done this before I did this little scraggly tree thing, but still learning. That's me, still learning. I'm so used to watercolors where you do the light first and then layer of a dark. Some of my darks back in here. Okay, with my time constraint, I have just a couple more moments. Do any finishing touches. There we go. I like that color a lot more. To wait and see how that dries though. Thank you so much for coming along with me as I painted my little Plein April painting today along the Metolius River. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like and don't forget to subscribe and push the little bell to get notifications of when I post my next video. So tomorrow is going to be another day in Central Oregon. I hope you tune in and see what I paint tomorrow. Thank you again so much for watching. I hope this has inspired you, and I will see you in the next video.